This is Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema. With me tonight is my host who is suffering all sorts of internet problems. Hans, how are you doing?
I'm your host. I'm
You
good.
for 2021, you're upgraded the host position finally after all these years.
I taking over the show and kicking you out.
That's how it's going to go. That will happen eventually.
Yeah, but I still need to get someone that will do all the work for me. So I'll be number one on the hierarchy of it, but I don't want to do all the work you do. So so I just need to find someone to do that.
Who is the most dedicated follower or in the fan group on Facebook? Just pick whoever first comes to mind for you.
Oh, fucking, I don't know. I don't want
Don
to pick.
Don Grizzly. That's who it is. Don
Yes.
Grizzly. Buck
Yeah.
Brutus. One of those two.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to be talking about one of the classic films of the 90s.
Yes, sir.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's best of the decade. Was Total Recall in 1990?
Yeah.
Maybe not best of the decade, but very close.
Alicia Silverstone's finest.
Yes, that we can absolutely say for certain. We're going to be talking about Joel Schumacher's magnum opus, Batman and Robin. Now, this is the fourth film in the Batman franchise of the Warner Brothers saga. So I know you tried to correct Kenny on Twitter that Batman 66 was the original. It was not the
Right.
original. There were two serials that came out in the 1940s, Batman, and another one called Batman and Robin from 1943 and 1949, respectively. And there was quite a bit of heavy racism in that first Batman movie. Have you ever seen any of the first Batman movie? Well,
I've seen the costume, that's it. It's kind of like goofy looking, like very saggy, right?
it's I think that's a very accurate representation of that early Batman, even though he doesn't have purple gloves or whatever.
Yeah.
It fits the time. Dr. Daka is the villain. He's the first ever Batman villain on film, and it's clearly a white actor with some Mickey Rooney face. And Batman says certain things, and these are all quotes. This is not me saying this, so
Oh,
don't report this podcast to iTunes. But he punches a bad guy and goes like, "Take that, squint eye! Take that, Jap!" He says all this
nice.
stuff while in fights. So
Cool.
it's classic Batman, you know. And
That
then
should be a drop. That should be a drop for the show every time I say a joke that doesn't that doesn't hit.
that's
It's just you saying that. You fuck.
yeah. When you don't laugh at my humor
Yeah.
here,
Yeah. When I don't understand the joke and I just sit there quietly, my autism, not laughing.
right? So Batman and Robin comes out in 1949, and that has a villain called the Wizard, and the Wizard is like a computer hacker for 1949. So a computer in 1949 is a room
Is it
of
is it
machines.
also the whistled? Is it another yellow face or is he just a regular guy?
No, at that point they kind of evened out. You know, the propaganda wasn't as heavy,
All right.
so it was just a regular old guy. And they had Captain America by that point and Superman, so they had the ones that it more naturally fit with. Then there's a break in between. Batman returns in 1966 for the Adam West TV show, and they do the movie the same year that the TV show premieres. And I mean, this movie echoes that quite heavily, but with a dose of 90s pop culture infused with it. And it's a total disaster. It's like I said either before we started or at the beginning of the show. It's one of the all-time great bad movies.
Yeah.
What is your feeling and what is your thoughts on Batman and Robin?
I I want to think that I know what he was trying or what he was going for. I just don't think that I don't think he went far enough with the camp. I don't think because to me it feels like he's trying to bring the 66 tone of that Batman TV show into the 90s. But I don't know if it's just that it's an awkward fit with the 90s and how everything used to work in the 90s, but for whatever reason, it just didn't have the charm that the series from the 60s has. I don't know if it was that just the performances weren't there because I really didn't find any of them to be good. Um, everything.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, we got another hiccup.
Oh my.
No, you're
Okay,
good.
got it.
You're
Got it.
good.
Got
We're
it.
back. We're
Okay.
back.
What I was saying, everything that Uma Thurman said felt very much like a light version of Jim Carrey's The Riddler. So it was just pretty much a sex, what is it, a sex swap or gender swap of that.
Yeah.
Um, Bane seemed completely unnecessary. It was just a waste of the character that had a very
You didn't like him yelling Bane every
no.
every 20 minutes?
I like that they tried to use the or a little bit of the origin from the cartoon with like the whole fluid muscles thing, but then it just ended with them just disconnected him and that's it. So it was kind of anticlimactic. And then I think Schwarzenegger, you can tell that he's going all out, but it's just I don't know. It just I, a lot of the lines, a lot of his lines needed like a take two, I think, because I see the joke, I see the what you're trying to do, but I guess it's just his accent or like the way he delivered them. But sometimes you have to like rewind a little bit to make sure that he said the thing that you think he said just because of how he's delivering the line. So even that, I didn't enjoy it as much as I remember enjoying it the first time I saw it. But yeah, I just think that he should have gone a little further with the camp and not so much into set pieces. There were so many fucking set
There
pieces
were a
in
lot of
this
set
thing.
pieces. It's funny that you're saying it wasn't campy enough when that is the
Oh
primary
my
complaint of
God, what the fuck
everybody.
is?
Oh, geez, Hans is running into all
Eh.
sorts of issues. No, I don't know if you can hear me. I can hear you just fine. Just continue as normal. It's all right. We're good. We're good. It's gonna be
What if I
smooth.
just what if I just turn off my video?
Uh,
Let's see if this works. It's just you. Yeah. Just you talking.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well,
All
let's
right.
let's try it out for like 3 minutes, and then we'll come back because people are paying for the
Okay.
video at Patreon.com/LowRes. $5. We're dropping 3 episodes in one day. This is what was it? The December 28th. December 28th. So 2020 is almost over. But if you're not paying for the episodes upon their release date on Patreon, well, you're probably listening to this around January 12th or something like along those lines. Um, yeah. So I'm sorry. What were we saying before?
Um, Damn. That's a
We
It's a
already
great
lost it.
question.
I think we were talking about camp.
I
The
got
camp.
frustrated. I wanted to punch my computer and then I forgot.
We're talking about the camp of the movie. Most people hate the campiness of this film. You're saying it wasn't campy enough for you.
Yeah. If you're going for it, you can't play it off as cool. I think that at times this movie tries to make you believe that some of the things they do are cool, especially with the Robin character and his bike and his leather jacket. And I wish he had gone in a not a serious way of presenting that. I guess like none of it is cool. Like none of it. Maybe in the '90s. I don't know if it's just me seeing it with 2020 eyes of being an old man, but none of it felt cool. It just felt like this is an old man trying to convince a young person that this is what they're supposed to like or think it's cool.
I think I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't know if I agree with the notion that this movie wasn't campy enough, but I can't imagine it being campier, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't see this as less campy than the 1960s TV show. I think it's actually more campy.
Okay, maybe it's just that I just don't think it's as charming
No,
as the
you're
other. A
you're
lot of it
you're
feels a little
correct.
forced, and I really dislike George Clooney as a leading man. I thought he was supposed to be charming, and the reason why they pick him in roles is because he's charming. And every time he's Bruce Wayne, he's awkward. He feels uncomfortable. He feels like
Because
the
he
way
knows
he's
he's in a bad movie. He knows he's in a shitty movie and the lines are terrible. That's why.
yeah, but they're not high. They're hiring to just deliver those shitty lines with your ER charm or whatever the fuck what he was up to at the time. I don't
Mm.
even know, but and in this, like, there's a line when a Poison Ivy asks him about, or whenever he meets the girl, and someone asked him about marriage, and he goes like, marriage," and it's just like, what is this? You're supposed to be the charming guy, and there's nothing charming about this millionaire that's supposed to, everyone's supposed to like.
He's also hardly in the movie. You know, I don't think that there's a single. I mean, we were talking about how that's a benefit to Batman '89, that Batman is kind of a backseat character to the Joker, and you don't know much about this character or his backstory. Really, we only find out midway through the film that his parents were killed. We don't open with that origin story,
Mhm.
and you don't get a whole lot of that in Batman and Robin, especially after the last film, Batman Forever, which is maybe the most like Bruce Wayne heavy of the four movies. I think Batman
Right.
Returns is close to that, but they don't really delve into his personal character a whole lot. It's really more the Penguin's showcase. In this movie, he feels like a background character. Clooney isn't first billed, Schwarzenegger is,
Yeah.
and there is not really an equal division between his character, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and even the Batgirl character, which I think absorbs more of the movie than Batman. I feel like Alfred absorbs more of the movie than Batman
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah, the Batgirl thing, we spend more time with her than we ever spend with Batman by himself. We have that, which feels like a half an hour scene of her in the bike with like the bike race or whatever, where we get to see that she's a badass chick, right? We don't have anything like that with Batman. He really feels like I don't know if they were thinking of doing like a Batwoman robbing thing, but it really feels like this is the third most important character
Yeah,
in this movie. I guess it's because we've seen more Batman than Robin and her, so hey, let's spend time with them. But at the same time, like you just said, the time that we spend with Batman in the other movies, we never really get to know him that much. We don't really get to see him interact with many people until we get to Forever. So it felt kind of weird that they were so focused on, what Robin wanted and what Batgirl wanted, and Alfred getting sick, than giving a fuck about this George Clooney representation of the character.
yeah. I don't think that he really brings anything to this character, and I don't think that George Clooney's a bad actor. I don't think that's his fault. I think he realized that this movie was nothing more than a paycheck and decided he wasn't going to get invested in the film and not offer his trademark charisma
Right.
or what we're supposed to believe is charisma into every project that he is a part of. So I would even venture to say that maybe even Robin, if he's not equal with Batman, he might actually have more depth in the film. I mean, at least Robin has an instance where there's stakes for his character where he gets frozen in the beginning, and
Right,
Batman
right,
has
right,
to
right.
use his toy gun, his toy laser gun, to unfreeze him. The whole movie sucks. It's just it is everything that has been it's been summed up to being a film to sell toys over the past 10 years, and it couldn't be more evident with the exchange of a new Batmobile or the costumes from the last film, and how Freeze, Batman, Robin, maybe even Batgirl, they all wind up changing outfits, and then the toys that were sold for this movie, they don't even
Right.
look like the characters half the time. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
I remember the Bane action figure because I was a boy and I saw this movie in the theaters, the first Batman movie I had ever seen in theaters. And I got all the action figures naturally, very excited about this film. That's the first I even heard that there was a Batman and Robin movie coming out. I was going to Toys R Us, looking at the action figure aisle and seeing Bane, and I was like, Bane? Bane's such like a C-list villain. I'm surprised he's going to
Right.
be in this movie. And the action figure of Bane looks like Bane. It looks pretty cool. He's muscly. He's got the mask. He looks intimidating. The Bane in this movie, as found behind me here, has
Juan, what's his name? Juan Luis Lopez or some shit.
yes, he's a Mexican immigrant rapist in this movie,
Yeah.
and
Out of Home Depot outside. picked
He's
him up, pumped him full of toxins, and
yep,
yeah.
yep. And he's played by Jeep Swenson, who strategically died before the release of this movie, so he wouldn't have to bear the pain of being in such a travesty. They just paint his arms yellow, and he says "Bane" over and over again. Doesn't I mean at one point I think he's wearing a fedora and a trench coat. That's cute.
And the Hulk wears a suit.
Yeah, it's it's not a good
God.
representation of the character. It's its own rendition, similar to the Tom Hardy one from Dark Knight Rises. Very different from the comic book or the animated series at that time. Mr. Freeze. What do you what do you think about Mr. Freeze and his puns and his outfit here?
Sorry, I'm truly retarded, and I unplugged my Bluetooth headset by mistake. Could you repeat what you said?
I was asking you what your feeling was about Arnold's performance here as Mr. Freeze, who is top billed. He is the star of the movie. His entire backstory is the focal point of this film. It's all about reviving his wife. They take that from the animated series. What did you think of this interpretation of Mr. Freeze in the film?
I thought he was enjoyable. I thought you can tell he's having fun with it. Uh, I don't know if it's a language thing, but I kind of wish that we had different takes of his lines, just because at times it feels like I don't know if he understands exactly what the pun is or what the joke is in the line. So a lot of the time it kind of doesn't really hit. But you can tell he's trying. You can tell that he's just having fun with it. He's not. I'm sure that someone that's just used to being the body, someone just told him, "Hey, you're actually going to be saying jokes in this thing." So I'm sure he was excited by it, and he's the only one I think that gave like an enjoyable performance, or that seemed like he wanted to be there. I guess you know.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the suit has nipples. His, I don't get that. It
Wait,
has
wait,
like
hold on.
little.
Mr. Freeze's suit has nipples?
Yeah, Mr. I don't know if it's like it's more like areolas than nipples. So he has like
Oh yeah.
he has glowing pecs, but then it has like two little circles that are like silver. So they look they look like he's areolas, and I was just confused because it's like an armor. Why do you need? But yeah, he was good. I enjoyed him.
I agree. I actually think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is the one redeeming aspect of this movie, simply because it does seem like everyone else. Maybe it's hard to get a read on Chris O'Donnell. He just seems like he's a void. Like
Yeah.
his head is just empty. He's a perfect actor as far as that goes. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can tell, yeah, he's the only one getting a kick out of what he's doing. Probably because he has the most to chew off in this film. He's got a cool costume for the '90s for a comic book character. He gets to offer his rendition of a character that previously, aside from the 1960s show with a couple of forgettable like fat bald guys that were in face paint, he gets to give the definitive rendition of this Mr. Freeze, and I think he does a for what this is. If this was an episode of the 1960s TV show in the modern day, he's the perfect villain for that. Poison Ivy, on the other hand, I feel like a lot of people have come around to Uma Thurman's performance as Poison Ivy in this movie, but for me, it's just too one note. But I mean, look, that fits with the rest of the film. Mr. Freeze is kind of one note. Actually, no, he's not one note because he has his.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
I'll walk that back. He does have his moments where he's a more sympathetic character and has like emotional.
yeah. He's very sad about his wife, and
Yeah,
then he's very angry about his wife when he sees the little TV that Batman shows him that's in like a batarang or some shit
right,
at
right.
the end. Yeah, where it shows just like a scene of the movie. It's not even from a different. It's not
Yeah.
even a different POV.
They
It's
couldn't
literally
put a
scenes from.
VHS filter over it or
Nope.
anything. No, it was shot with an Arri Alexa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, no, you're correct about that. I mean, obviously Bane is the most one note character here, but Poison Ivy is not far behind with her. Just I'm gonna be a slut in every scene of this movie. I'm gonna slut it up with. I mean, but that's the character. That's Poison Ivy,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. I don't know. It's just It was just too much, I guess. I think one of the things that really affected my viewing experience was how long it is. I forgot how long this thing is, and it just feels completely unnecessary because they don't do anything interesting in the story that would merit the length. Uh, and something that I noticed a lot was that was a lot of set pieces. There was a lot of long scenes with this larger than life action.
Oh, oh.
God
No,
damn it!
you're good. You're
There it
good.
is.
We're
We're
back.
good. We're
We're
good.
back.
Okay. Not hitting each other. Their fighting is really. It felt like a play. It felt like they were recording a play. None of the punches look like punches. He does a trick with the camera where he puts things in between Batman and the camera. So whenever he's about to hit, the camera is either blocked by the body of the bad guy or blocked by something else that flew on camera. So none of the fights look like fights. They look more like a ballet or something that's set up
Yeah,
like that.
like Batman
It's
on
called,
ice.
exactly, yeah. Well, at the beginning, he's skating, right?
They're literally on
He's
ice.
skating.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you have a whole intro, like Poison Ivy intro, is just another musical, where they bring her in arms and she has like their whole number that's like 10 minutes. Then there's the scene with the motorcycles. That's another very long scene too. So I don't know. Maybe what's the cut that you got?
The
That's like
deacified 26
yeah.
minute camp remover that I received in the mail. I think it's on YouTube now. It must be on YouTube now. But I received a version of Batman and Robin when I was a child. People, grown men, adult men, just sent me DVDs in the mail, and this was one of them. And it reduces the film to a much more feasible length and removes everything that is egregious about it.
Yeah, the alpha cut. That's what it's
Yeah,
called, right?
yes, yes.
The alpha male cut. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that soured my viewing experience. I forgot how long it was, and now if you're going to make a 2 hour movie, you need to give me something to watch, because otherwise it ends up being something like It Too. That was like 2.5 hours, and the whole time you were just like, are you gonna do anything with the story, or is it just set pieces that lead nowhere? Which is kind of what that movie ends up being. Another one that's like that is Wonder Woman 1984 that I saw a
Oh,
couple of.
I do want to talk about that movie with you
Uh,
because
uh,
you watched it and you did not rant about it, but you left your review to a few words. You said I did not like it.
yeah, I haven't finished it.
Oh,
That's yeah, because I was intoxicated at the time and I was very confused because the things that I was seeing on screen didn't make any fucking sense at all. So I was like, okay, this must be me. So I would just rewind it, and then the characters would say the things that they would say, and I would still be like, no, hold on. There's no way that they're just changing everything about this universe again. So this movie doesn't, because this movie doesn't fit anything with the other ones. The tone is completely different as even the first one, where you don't really know what you're
yeah.
supposed to be taking seriously.
I'll
Like you
tell
don't
you
know.
what. It reminded me a lot of the tonal shift from Batman '89 to Batman Forever.
Mm.
It's not the same audience. They're not going for the same audience with this movie that the first Wonder Woman movie did. And I think people rag on him all the time. You rag on him all the time, Hans. Zack Snyder, I think, is responsible for that tone of the first Wonder Woman movie that made it watchable. And then we see what happens when you just have Patty Jenkins and probably
Yeah.
Gal Gadot, now that she's a star, has probably more creative input. And then the studio is like, well, Shazam was a hit. Shazam was the unexpected hit. We should go more in this direction as
Yeah.
opposed to just separating the tones of these different movies and letting them be their own thing. It felt like Wonder Woman 84 felt like they were trying to capture that energy that Shazam came out with and then infuse it with Richard Donner's Superman, especially in the beginning when she's in
Mhm.
the mall and you hear that tune that sounds eerily like the Superman of the 20th century. That theme song by what's his name, John, whoever did the Star Wars or something.
Williams.
John Williams. Yeah,
Sure.
sure. So that iconic theme, they're trying to capture that essence so bad, and I put out a tweet. I was like, Wonder Woman 84. They put 84 in the title to remind you it's 80s because nothing about it feels retro whatsoever. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody always gripes about, and I'm certainly guilty of this, Stranger Things not capturing the 80s correctly or capturing like a snapshot of the 1980s. But Wonder Woman 84 has nothing about it that feels 80s. The jokes in the movie, which are painfully unfunny, are related to the 80s. But nothing about it looks 80s. Nobody's acting like it's the 1980s. Uh, it's but I don't know. I can't say that it's a bad movie because it just feels like a kid's movie. It feels like a
It,
dumb kid's movie.
it was really weird. Again, I haven't finished it because I was intoxicated at the time, so I was wondering if it was me, because I tried to make it fit into what I guess DC is not trying to do anymore, which is, fix the whole Justice League thing and continue with this. I guess that's dead now because this doesn't, like, I can't imagine this character fitting a serious Zack Snyder movie anymore. And I understand if you're trying to do that with something like Guardians of the Galaxy, that's like its own little thing. But Wonder Woman is one of the main Justice League character. She's one of the leaders, right? So how are you going to go from goofy, sassy Wonder Woman in this movie to now she's serious again? And all the little jokes and the little ha-has that you have in this movie, never mind, she's serious now again.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot about the 84 thing. Now that you mention it, it I tried to think, or I guess I just convinced myself that the 84 wasn't related to the year because it didn't feel like the 80s. So I was waiting for what the 84 means. Like it didn't even cross my mind that, okay, so this is supposed to be 1984 because of how much it does not feel like 1984, like you just said. Yeah.
The only part of the movie that I thought was good until the end, and you'll maybe eventually see this, is I thought Kristen Wiig was actually good in her performance in that character. But
Really?
I
Playing
did.
that
Yeah.
playing that character, that stereotype of I'm a little nerdy, nobody likes me, but hey, all I have to do is fix my hair and everyone's gonna like, oh, they don't like me anymore. I'm evil now.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I honestly, maybe it's just because compared to Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord character, where he's playing like Ricardo Montalban on Fantasy Island, and that he's awful. He's really bad. He's the most draining part of this movie, and the overindulgence of special effects. Like, there's a scene where just his eye is bloody, right? Because he's doing his whole thing where he's making people grant wishes or whatever. And they couldn't even just add in a contact. They had to do bad CG where it's just like he's got pixels on his face and it looks terrible. So,
200 million budget for this movie. That was another thing I couldn't understand. Where does that go? Is it all like salaries? Because it's a big cast of famous people. This guy's Mandalorian now, so I guess,
yeah.
because you don't really see a cool shots that you can only do with technology or cool CGI that you can only do now. So it would cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. But where is it? You know what I mean? Like you see an Avengers movie and okay, there's giant monsters and they're giant, machines and shit. So fine. But I guess I'll have to see if they spent 100 million on the invisible jet that I've yet to see.
Yeah.
But I heard that's in it. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting anything great because I thought the first one was pretty boring. And I guess I was just very confused as to what are they trying to do now? Like, what's the next step from this? Especially with the Zack Snyder thing coming out. That's a completely different character than the Wonder Woman we saw in this one. She's not as sassy.
Yeah.
And this one, she's very sassy. And she has that look on her face of like, I know better,
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, though, to see what the critical reaction was prior to the movie dropping on HBO Max because it had majority good reviews. I think it might have been even certified fresh. And as soon as the movie came out, and it wasn't just like, uh-oh, the trolls are at it again. The trolls are trying to attack the movie, just like Last Jedi, just like everything else. And it's not even like one of those super feminist, yada, yada, yada type of films that's just drenched in progressive ideology. It's not that at all. I've seen people criticizing, oh, Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord is a very Donald Trump character, but he's not. He's not really. He's just got blonde hair. He's Mexican, right? So no, he's nothing like Donald Trump of the '80s. Even
Are we are
he's
we
clearly
really gonna do that now? Every loud, shitty character now is very Trumpian.
very
Is that
Trump-esque
is that the
character.
next? Oh God, fucking get another reference. There's been other shitty people, not just goddamn.
People think that's going to go away over the next 4 years because of Biden. No, the obsession does not go away so easily. You are mistaken. You are deeply mistaken if you think that's going to be the case. So I'm taking a look at the critical reviews of this movie now. Rotten Tomatoes has it down to a 64%.
Oh
IMDb
wow, that's down from
5.9.
16. I think it was 69 at the beginning of
When,
last week.
when I checked it, when it first came out on HBO Max, and before this, I think it was actually in the 80s or something. When it was just premiering, it was at 74%. So it has gone down at least 10%. And apparently there are top voted tags for Google. And the top voted tags are boring, overhyped, corny, forgettable, overrated, cringeworthy, slow, unconvincing, cliche, and must watch.
Yeah. Well, Patty Jenkins, right? She's one of the new women that are gonna take film into womanhood moving forward or whatever.
Sure.
Wasn't Ava DuVernay? She was another fucking
Hack.
what's the word?
Another hack. She's a hack.
She's a trendsetter, another maverick. Can we stop praising people just because of what fucking dangles between their legs? They suck. I don't
Yeah.
care if you have a vagina. If the movie's terrible, that should not change the fact that the movie's terrible. And this movie is pretty bad. I don't know if I would say terrible. Again, I have to see it with sober eyes because I was kind of not in a great state when I saw it. I
Yes.
was having fun, but I was very confused. But yeah, I don't know.
It's Batman Forever tier. That's all it is. It's like it's
Right.
not good, but it's a kids movie and it abides by kid movie logic. So I can't really criticize it on those grounds. Makes me think though. Makes me think that Zack Snyder probably directed some of the scenes for that first Wonder Woman. He probably directed the whole movie. We should probably retroactively call that a Zack Snyder film, is what I
Zack
think.
Snyder's
Just
Wonder
like
Woman.
just like
Yeah.
Poltergeist with Toby Hooper and Steven Spielberg. Patty Jenkins was probably drunk off her ass, just getting sloshed on the set. But they're like,
Yep.
"Fuck, we need a woman filmmaker to
wine.
do this on wine, mom wine."
Wine and reading gossip magazines and shit.
Because she's a 50-year-old childless woman. You know how all they are.
Yep.
They're
Yeah.
they're like Kristen
That's-
Wiig. Yeah.
Lonely. Yep.
Chelsea Handler types. So she was probably doing
Yeah.
that. She was reading self-help books, and Zack Snyder was like, "God damn it, I got to step in here. I got to make sure that this
She
ship
was-
is righted. This is the first female-led superhero movie."
She was retweeting PETA on her phone while Zack Snyder shot the. Was there even visually interesting scenes in the original one? No.
It wasn't. Look, I'll tell you what I liked about the original Wonder Woman movie is the costumes. I liked the setting. It reminded. I thought they captured the 1930s, 1940s era very well in a way that was somewhat reminiscent to the style that's found in Batman '89. But obviously, they fully leaned into that to fit the era, and I thought it worked great, and
Right.
it made it feel unique among the other superhero films because it does take place in a different time period. They nailed that, and then completely lost that quality with this movie. You would think it would be easier to nail the 1980s since everybody else has, and
But they got rid of the writers, right?
did they? It wouldn't
I
surprise
think
me.
Patty Jenkins took over the writing on this one, and well, so what happened? Let's see, Patty Jenkins.
Hans is looking it up. It's not his connection. There we go. Hi, how's it going?
Okay, good. That gave me a couple of seconds to look for the writer. So, Patty Jenkins, Dave Callahan, who wrote that Godzilla movie. It's great. That second Zombieland movie. It's great. we're not getting the best ones. We're not getting the best of them to write this up
No.
movies. I'm not surprised, I guess. But yeah, a miss, definitely a miss from the half an hour that I've seen. How long is it also like 2.5 hours long, right?
Yeah.
Why? God, why are they? God damn. Okay. Yeah, I might never watch this. I might never finish Wonder Woman just
Let
because of
me
that.
uh let me tell you what you're missing out on in that last half hour of the movie. You get Cheetah, the character, and how she becomes Cheetah is so shoehorned and makes no sense at all. It's just her character motivation is essentially to be like Gal Gadot. She wants to be the hot,
Right.
sexy, well liked individual, and it works for her for a while. She does become more well liked, and then she just wants she's on a plane with Maxwell Lord, who's losing his mind, has just like co-opted the White House and the president, got nuclear weapons. She's just like, I want to be like nothing else that has ever existed before. I want to be a primal predator. And Maxwell Lord is like, ooh, I like your thinking. So he just turns her into a cat lady, and the CG is almost on the level of Cats the movie with James Corden with her face. It kind of looks like that. It looks better. I'll say that. It looks better, but that's a low bar, okay? That's a very low
How
bar.
does it look when it's fighting?
So that character is fighting primarily in the dark in the water with Wonder Woman. So they were at least strategic with it. They realized the design probably wasn't good, and they set it in a location where they could hide it as much as possible. So you only kind of get like dark glimpses of that face. It's not the worst thing. It's not good though, and it makes no sense. It doesn't fit with the rest of the movie, and ultimately, it
Wouldn't
just
you get a character that works in the water so that you could do it in the
no,
water
a
and that
cat.
would
You want a
be
cat
so
in the water? What are you talking about? A cat is natural in the water.
Why are we making these people millionaires? Can we talk about that?
It's not
Why?
us. I don't. It's not us. It's not us. I don't think
Okay,
it's us.
you're right. I'm not spending money on it. But yeah, let's do a cat and then in the water because the CGI is not up to par. How about just let's not do a cat?
Yeah.
Is there the only one villain in the Wonder Woman universe that you can use for this, where you can't show it? Why? Like, what are these people thinking? And again, what's the next step? What's coming after this? Wonder Woman 3, 1994,
I
and
don't.
she
I don't
wears
know.
flannel.
I don't know what. Yeah, that really
She's
would
she's
be.
she's she's kind of mean now. She's got like a very like
Here's what I want to
weird
know.
attitude to everything, and
What's going to happen when Gal Gadot starts aging? Because technically,
which how old is she? She's in the 30s, right?
I think she might be 35 or something. She's going to start aging soon. And there's only so, I mean, you're either going to have to pull out the visual effects or you're just going to have to accept it. And then it's going to be like a Hugh Jackman situation where it's like, even though this movie takes place around the time of the first X-Men and he looks completely different now, uh,
Yeah.
I think it's probably just going to be one of those situations. Better not to analyze it too much.
It's just Wonder Woman 4. Her face is very smooth now.
Yes.
Her face is weirdly smooth, even smoother than when she was young.
She,
I don't know. I think, well, I already saw a couple of articles claiming that it's made so much money already, right? Because of
there's no
course,
way to measure
I think
that. There's no
I
way to
think in
measure it.
China or something they said that there was like a bunch of money from China or whatever, but I just don't see studios unless we're 100% back to normal spending $200 million on movies anymore, and especially if this doesn't go well, uh, hopefully it'll make them focus that money on projects that are actually worth making. If once they start, not getting the returns on these movies because they're not on theaters, but it just felt like such a waste of 200 million. It's like where's that money going? I don't get it. And before, when you could see it in the theaters, then fine. I'm sure the sound or some of the visuals look better in the theater, but I don't
Right.
know, 100 million for something like this. to watch at home. I don't know
It was
if
all
that's going to
to Patty
continue.
Jenkins' wine budget, her wine crate, her winery.
Yeah, 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 and her couple of gay best friends that hang out with her
Yep.
the whole time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right, Patty. Come at me.
You're completely right because this kind of movie is not going to float the same way on streaming that it would in the theater. People go see a Marvel movie in the theater, they get wowed. They get wowed by the special effects, by the spectacle, by the stakes that are involved. Oh, the world's going to blow up again? Then we got to see a shot of outer space and then the CGI suit? That's not going to
Yeah.
work. That doesn't work for a 2.5 hour movie on a streaming platform. So I think the day of this type of movie is going to be over very soon. I think it's going to be turned into a TV show. I think that's what Disney's prepping for right now. And, you're complaining about Batman and Robin being too long, but comparatively, this is
Two and
where
a
it's
half
gone.
hours. The balls on this, people. 2.5 hours of a Wonder Woman movie. Where does a lot happen? I'm sure that not
No.
a lot happens. In
No, it's Maxwell Lord granting wishes and decaying and trying to get all the world's power, and then we have a fight at the end. There's a good 40 minutes of this movie where it's Gal Gadot as Diana Prince interacting, working, doing this and that can be cut out. And the whole Steve Trevor returns plot is trash. I mean, we knew that was going to happen. I thought it was a cool note to end on that you kill him off in the first movie. But of course, it was never going to last. They have to. They'll bring him back again. They do another sentimental send off, like I'm really dead. I'm not this guy. I'm some other guy, and I'm back. But now I gotta
Do
go.
they keep that going throughout the whole movie where we see him as this Steve, what's his name? Steve
Trevor.
John,
Steve
yeah,
Jobs. Yes.
Steve Jobs. But it's because she sees him like that. But everyone else, God damn, just fucking get another actor. Just what are you doing? God damn. Okay. So what you're saying is that this is not Once Upon a Time in America. It doesn't need to be 3.5 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Like
No,
that
certainly
movie?
not.
Okay.
It's not Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'll tell you that right now, which we're gonna get in like 2 months. I'm hyped for that. That's gonna save the theater. 4.5 hours. Wonder Woman's back.
That's 4 episodes, right? Or is it two?
I think they're doing a movie. I think it was originally supposed to be cut up into 4 parts, and now they're just going to release it as a movie.
Just a 4 hour movie?
Yeah.
That would be a mistake, I think.
No, who cares? He's that. Look, it's not going to go anywhere. You saw where this was the future of the DC universe. Who cares? At this point, just let Zack Snyder do whatever he
Eh,
wants. It'll be the final chapter. That'll be a wrap.
And honestly, if they cared so much, they wouldn't have given him as much money to redo the whole thing again. So I guess it's just go with it. What we tried didn't work, so here's a bunch of money and let's do your vision and see how that goes. So fair.
Yep.
Wow, we're really looking forward to the episode that I'm sure we'll do the day after it comes out because you'll be typed with so much to say about it.
Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I'm not like a big Justice League guy. I like Zack Snyder as a director. I didn't have as much interest in the movie when he was still on board before they fired him or whatever, as I did Batman v Superman. I thought that was going to be the more interesting of the two. And he's I mean, I think we talked about this before. He's doing a different version of Batman v Superman now too. But we should really get back to Batman
All right,
and Robin.
right.
How about that? Which is going to be part of the canon DC EU very soon. Once Michael Keaton gets in with the Flash, Ezra Miller, on the stand on CBS All Access, sponsoring this show today. You watch that.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's terrible. And the thing you said to me in the group chat was very true. That I downloaded the first. I think there's only 2 episodes out. There might be three now. I downloaded the first 2 episodes. Sorry, I streamed legally the first 2 episodes. Well, the first episode, and immediately after what is it, NBC?
CBS.
Is it NBC?
CBS.
CBS production logo came up, and I was like, oh no. I was like, I didn't know it was CBS, and it feels like what you said, like under the dome, but now it's a pandemic, not a dome. It's really bad.
Look, I appreciate a good competition reality show from time to time, but CBS, when it comes to scripted content, when it comes to scripted TV shows, I don't know if they've ever had like an actual good show. They did Touched by an Angel in the '90s, and then they did, what was it, Nash Bridges or something, and then they did Jag, and then they did NCIS.
Oh, yeah.
It's never been good. And when they handle Stephen King, Under the Dome is one of the most egregious examples of an adaptation of one of his books. So I have no hope for this, even though they have like an all-star cast of Whoopi Goldberg and one of the Skarsgårds and who else? Oh, Ezra Miller is doing TV after doing the Flash TV show. Cool. All right. Well, I'm good. I think I'm good. I'll pass.
Are they bringing Arnold to this Flash movie? Well, I
They
guess he's.
they should. He's got nothing else going on right now.
What's fucking Chris O'Donnell doing right now?
He's on CBS. He's doing NCIS with LL Cool J. So he's a busy man.
All right.
He's the only one getting steady acting work nowadays. Where's
Who's
Uma
Lady-
Thurman?
Where's Lisa Silverstone's old ass? She lost all that charm she had when she was younger, and now she's just old.
What
Great, let's watch that.
she's been putting out breastfeeding advocacy videos. I think she's an anti-vaxxer person, and she's fallen apart too. So, I mean, George Clooney's not acting; he's just producing things now. He's probably taking in money
No.
through.
He just did that space movie, End of the World space movie, where he plays a bearded man, and his daughter is like an astronaut, and it just came out on Netflix. He directed it. My girlfriend was watching it, and it seemed very, very emotional for no reason at all.
Oh,
He's just old now, so he has a beard, and he was in the middle of like the Arctic, and his daughter is in space, and they're trying to save Earth. But there's a lot of them just talking on the radio to each other, and then they realize that, oh my God, that's my daughter, and then he gets very emotional, and
So
there's a lot of silence.
it's
It's not very good.
it
No.
sounds like either Frequency or Interstellar. What? Derivative.
I think it's called Midnight Sky or something like that. I think that might be it. But
Okay.
yeah, yes, it's terrible. It's not very good. Just in case you wanted to watch what George Clooney's up to.
Why don't we talk about Batman and Robin again?
All right.
Now that we just did like 30 minutes on Wonder Woman 84. Should this just be 4 episodes now? 4 episodes? We'll cut this up into 2 parts.
What else is there to say about Batman and Robin? It's very gay.
It is extremely gay.
Well, it's very much a theater production, right? Like that's another thing that it's very. All of the set pieces are very flamboyant.
Yes.
Very non-violent.
Yes.
But it's like, what's the gangster movie that's very gay too? With the
Jersey
what's
Boys.
no.
All that jazz.
When you have the guys wearing white suits and the other guys wearing black suits, and they're like in an alleyway being
Grease.
gay with each other. No. Fuck, what's it called?
Jeez.
A Story of Violence? No, well, whatever. It's kind of like that. Kind of like that movie. If you know what I'm talking about. If you remember that movie, that's like something like Casablanca, but not Casablanca, kind of gay with gangsters, that one.
The West
It's
Side
kind of
Story?
like that one,
There
yes.
you
Isn't
go.
that like a gay movie?
I don't know. Spielberg's doing that next year. He's doing a remake of it.
Never seen it, but
Me either.
it's one of those that I have such a huge list of movies that you should watch that I haven't, just because why? That's one. Casablanca I've never seen.
I got in a lot of those types of movies. I mean, when we get this would be a remarkable transition into what our next episode will be, which is the 10 best movies watched in 2020. We're going to end with the 10 best films of 2020, even though that's a less spectacular list. But I think everybody, even the most polished of film critics, unless you're doing that day in and day out, is they're going to have some blind spots as far as the classics go. And yeah, I don't think it's that egregious to have not seen Casablanca or West Side Story or something
I've
along
never
those
seen
lines.
Indiana Jones movie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
That's
surprising
another
for
one.
you.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I just haven't. I don't have a reason. It just, I guess it's never been available when I don't know. And I remember I downloaded them. I mean, sorry, I legally had a chance to stream all of them, and I
Yes.
just didn't. And that's one of the series that, it's a huge franchise that I just haven't seen any of it. And a lot of the classics, quote unquote, I don't know.
The Christmas classics. All the. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you missed out on all the Christmas classics. You should have caught up this week. It's a
No.
Wonderful Life played 24/7 in the U.S. They played it all around the clock.
They're not very fun when you're drunk for 3 days. Just intoxicated for 3 days. Just what is this Christmas? What is this family unity and happiness bullshit?
Yeah.
No. No. Throw bottles against the fucking TV. No, I'm good. I'm all right.
So within that time, instead, you watch Batman and Robin, which is again we're
Yes.
going to try and stick to it this time. What did you think about the fact that they retconned the last movie and made it so that Two-Face survives?
Hmm?
In this film, when Mr. Freeze is being broken out of Arkham Asylum by Bane, right? You see two costumes hanging up because apparently that's just what happens when you're in prison is
Oh
they hang up
yeah.
your costume. We saw the Riddler and Two-Face. So Two-Face is now alive in this universe.
Yeah,
That's
he just broke his legs, I guess.
he fell like four
Very harsh.
stories onto some spikes, but he lived. He caught all the
Yeah.
coins and he got like a Mario raccoon tail and phew, went up in
He
the
got in the
sky.
middle.
Yes,
In the middle of the spikes. Wasn't hurt by them, yeah.
it was miraculous. Yeah. So
Yeah, I didn't even. I mean, I noticed that just because of how weird it was that they were placed perfectly so that the camera could see both things. But I didn't even think about them still being alive. You're right.
Joel
Well, I guess
Schumacher,
we'll never know.
he loves the Easter eggs. He makes a conscious attempt to hint at like a bigger universe with these two terrible movies. He references Metropolis in Batman Forever, and he references Superman in this one. And I remember at the time, nobody's doing that. Nobody at all is doing that. If you check out the Superman movies, he ain't talking about the Flash. He's not talking about Wonder Woman. You watch the live action shows, you would never get anything like that. Everybody's just in their own lane. And this
Did
is
he die? Did he die before the share universes thing?
Schumacher?
Yeah.
No, he just died this year.
Oh, was he a huge fan of all this shit?
I don't think
Probably,
so.
right?
No, he was a huge
No?
fan of
Not gay
poppers,
enough.
I think. Huge fan of men. That's what he was a huge fan of.
Allegedly. Yep, allegedly.
No, he was
Yeah.
a happy married man, I believe. I don't know. He said he's had sex with thousands of people. He'll take their names to his grave, and he did.
He did.
And probably
Nice.
their diseases as well. So
Yep. Good for him. Live a long gay life.
before this movie came out, they were so confident it was going to be a hit. I don't think I talked about the Pop Tarts and the action figures on this version of Batman and Robin before your internet destroyed it. There was a massive marketing campaign where they were doing cereals, where they were doing mugs, action figures, Pop Tarts, sweets, candy. I loved all the different Pop Tarts. Every character, I believe, had their own Pop Tart flavor, and the Robin ones would be like strawberry with the blue sprinkles and icing or whatever. I had all this stuff as a 7-year-old, and how I even found out about the movie was through action figures because you didn't have the internet back then the way that you do now. So this was the first Batman movie I saw in theaters. I was hyped about it. I loved it when I was a child and I saw it in the theater. Thought it was the best one ever. And all that to say, they invested so much money into the marketing campaign of this movie and also commissioned screenwriters to tackle what would be Batman 5 because they were so sure it was going to be a hit. And I actually think it didn't do bad in terms of the box office. Can we just do a quick check of that? Can we do a fact check there? I feel like it might not have done great. I feel like it definitely made its money back, though.
Um, let's see. According to Box Office Mojo, it made 238 million worldwide.
And the budget was probably like
Uh,
150, right? So
Let me see budget. Where does it say? It's weird to see that. I've never seen this website on my phone.
The budget was
Summary.
160. 160. So it was a hit. It was a hit. Let's make that clear.
Well, I'm sure that with the marketing cost, that 160 went way up. They just, don't factor that in. But I'm sure they sold a lot of toys and a lot of Pop Tarts. Maybe that.
I think
I
it
don't
all
know why.
gets. I think the budget does get factored, or the marketing budget gets factored into the overall budget. I think I might not. I'm
Okay.
not 100%. Maybe not. Yeah, that might just be Warner Brothers' own spending. But yeah, you would have to think that this movie made a killing on the action figures and this and that. So they probably made dividends that way as well. So it's kind of strange in retrospect that it took 8 years to get a movie in motion. And also that they
Right.
didn't greenlight Batman Triumphant, which was going to be the fifth one. There were a couple of different scripts that were written. There was more than one. They commissioned a few different writers based on the direction that they wanted to go in. Because I think,
Anyone known? Any
yeah,
writer known?
yeah. For what would have been the continuation of this one, it was Akiva Goldsman, or is his name Goldsmith? The Hollywood genius who did "It's a Beautiful Mind."
God damn that fucking guy.
He wrote
Ah,
a version of the script that had the Scarecrow as the main villain, and it would have also featured the return of the Joker in a dream sequence, and I think Harley Quinn was in the movie as well. And there was talk about we're going to bring back Jack Nicholson for this small role in the movie, and Nick Cage or Howard Stern is going to play the Scarecrow, and then Courtney Love is going to play, or Madonna is going to play Harley Quinn, who is going to be the Joker's daughter in this fifth version.
old Harley Quinn.
Well,
'Cause Madonna would have been what, like 40 at the time?
I think Madonna was in her mid 30s at that point, which is
Okay.
old for a female starlet.
Yeah,
So,
especially for a Harley Quinn character.
right.
Now, can we? Sorry, I don't mean to derail things, but I completely forgot about Akiva's writing credits. And this guy, he gets a lot of work. Um, it's all shit. You got Star Trek Picard, you got Titans, you got Star Trek Discovery, The Dark Tower, Transformer, that's the last night, Rings, you got well, I guess Fringe, that TV show was fine, Angels and Demons, Da Vinci Code, Cinderella Man, I, Robot, Lost in Space with Matt LeBlanc, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. Boy, ah,
Well, he's rich.
yeah.
That much is certain.
I guess that's so much we can say that he's rich. He's produced. Oh, he's a producer in Doctor Sleep. Where it's like I guess shit just attracts more shit. But yeah, that's so he was considered for the sequel to this.
No, he wrote it. He wrote these scripts got written. They were all
Uh,
commissioned. So people were making.
have you read them?
Yeah, but not for a long time. I read them all when I was waiting to see what Batman 5 was going to be. So when I was like 10, 11 years old, I found all these scripts on the internet and I read them, but I haven't read them since then. So there was actually two versions of Batman Triumphant. One was that was the popular version. The other one was there's a script that I think was called Batman Dark Knight, and Dark Knight was one word, where Man Bat was going to be the villain, and Batman was going to go solo again, and where you would see Robin and Batgirl murdered in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and I think Alfred was going to be killed. So it would have just been Batman versus Man Bat, and maybe the Scarecrow had a part in that movie. I don't know. They seemed very heavily focused on going in a Scarecrow direction for that next film, though. So at a certain point, I think in 1998 or 1999, they were just like, we're done with this. I believe they were talking about Kurt Russell as a potential replacement for George Clooney if he didn't want to renew his contract for Batman
Yeah.
5. So once they decided we're done with this whole series of four films here, they took to Darren Aronofsky to do Batman Year One. And that would have been co-written with Frank Miller, who wrote the graphic novel of Batman Year One, and it would have been completely different from what his book originally was, where you have Batman who has no money. He's living on the streets. He's homeless. He gets taken in by a black auto mechanic named Big Al, and it would have been a hyper realistic version of Batman that's kind of in vain to that movie, not Kick Ass, Super, that James Gunn did.
Yeah.
It would have been something like that, but set in a 1970s New York style location. And as far as I know, there has actually been, because of Joker, there have been some very minor rumblings about maybe getting this project going again. I remember the script was fairly good, but I don't think it would have worked at the time. I don't think that kind of movie would have been made and successful in the year 2000.
Especially as a sequel. Well, maybe not a sequel, but just following this one.
Right.
Completely different tone, and the Nolan ones had not come out yet, right?
No, we're still 5 years away from Batman Begins. So this was in development for a period of time, and around this same time, they were also thinking, all right, maybe we'll do Batman Beyond. We could do a Batman Beyond movie with Bose Yakin, who directed Remember the Titans. So I guess they were thinking, all right, well, he's dealt with like teen drama before. We'll bring him in to write and direct it. But he wasn't a fan of the property at all. He didn't know shit about it. He brings in Neil Stephenson from Snow Crash. He wrote that book. And that would have been, I don't think that script is out there. I did a video on this years ago. I didn't find a script. I think that could have been really good with Neil Stephenson writing it. But nothing happened with that. That was the one that was the least in development, I think. And then
It was also a time when Aronofsky was an interesting filmmaker, right? Before he went Noah and Mother and whatever pretentious shit he's into now. He was still pretentious, which is weird because if you hear him talk, he sounds like any New York Italian.
Yeah.
Like he sounds very stupid, but he still has like that. I don't know if he went to like private school or whatever, but he still has like that pretentiousness about him. And at the beginning of his career, his movies were interesting because of that. They were kind of odd, but now after seeing Mother and Noah, it's kind of, I don't know if I would trust him with something like this anymore.
No, I'll tell you what, Pi, Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, those are all really great films, and I think they're entirely dependent on their visual style and their editing.
Right. Even Black Swan. Point.
Yeah, no. Black Swan is a fantastic movie. Yes.
But I mean, like the editing has a lot to do with how that movie flows, and without it, it would feel really odd.
Yes.
Like now, just thinking of how the scenes flow into each other. So he had at that point still a very interesting filmmaking style, and I don't know. I guess success happened.
Well, once he did, I haven't seen The Fountain with Hugh Jackman. I've heard that's actually a great movie. But by the time he gets to The Wrestler, he is more reserved as a director. He doesn't have that kinetic pace that he has with his first two films, especially Requiem for a Dream, which feels like a 90-minute music video, which is not a complaint about it whatsoever. I think it works extremely well for that movie. And the cutting between like very short scenes that are maybe like less than a second long, it's perfect. It really fills out the visual style of that movie in an amazing way. And by the time you get to The Wrestler, he's more dependent on the performances. He gets more into the performances. And that movie is entirely carried by Mickey Rourke, of course. But it still got very natural, gritty flares to the settings, to a lot of the color choices and the backgrounds.
The visual style is really,
yeah.
It's he managed to I don't know I can't remember if it's set on a specific time or a specific year or a specific time frame or whatever, but it just feels old. It feels like a different reality than ours, which I guess it is, being like a shitty wrestler that doesn't is not going through the greatest time, but I just remember it having a very distinctive look and a very distinctive tone of it, I guess is the word for it,
Yeah.
where it felt very like dirty and very much like a 70s type of
Yes.
movie, you
Yeah.
know?
It certainly does have that feel to it, where the town that character lives in feels decayed, you know? And I think we see that most in 1970s film, especially New York settings, and where everything is just kind of like the paint is peeling off the place, you know? For the wrestler, though, that feels like it could be set in a location like here, where I'm at right now in Brockton, where it's just like it's a big city, it's a town, but nobody cares to do anything with it. So it's just constantly
Right.
decomposing. Maybe you'll get a new shop in one location every now and again, and they actually do have local wrestlers or whatever putting on shows for crowds that get no coverage. They probably have like 120 likes on Facebook, but it's still somehow some crowd of like 60 people, 30 people will show up and see these people. Maybe you'll get like a washed up WWE wrestler from the early aughts in there, and then it'll
Right.
just be a bunch of people trying to get an agent, launch their careers, you know. So that kind of thing is still happening, but it feels like I maybe this is the setting, maybe it's not. It feels like it could be upstate New York or somewhere in Detroit or you know some gritty, gross location, and he captures that extremely well. So
Yeah.
he could have been great at doing a Batman movie. But I'm kind of glad, even though he's put out some real shit with Noah, and I really didn't like Mother. I think his whole stab at doing Christian themes or whatever, even though he's coming from like a scientist perspective, and he's trying to put it in a
Right.
metaphor, and Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem or whatever. It's stupid. It's dumb. I don't care for
Yeah,
that at
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. It's just you're trying to be clever, but you can't. I mean, I don't know if he can. And at least in this Mother movie, you could tell what he was trying to do right away. You know, it's like we understand. Like we get. Is that all you? Okay, we get it. Fine. I don't have to sit for 2 hours going through this thing. You know. So it would have been interesting if it was a young Aronofsky doing Batman Year One. Who would you give that property to right now?
If you're
If
going
you
to
had to
adapt
put
the
them,
book,
yeah,
I would say I'd really have to think about that. Um, I feel like the obvious go-to one is the Safdie brothers would do a bang-up job with that, but they're kind of. I feel like they're not going to go in a good direction with their next movie or project. I feel like Uncut Gems, which is a good movie, it's an enjoyable
uh-huh.
film, is giving a glimpse into what their future is going to be, which is
Right,
less the dirty, random weirdo Cassavetes esque characters and more what big A-list stars can we get in our movie? Who do I want to meet as a director? I would love to meet Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett, and who else can we
right,
get in here to just show up for a day? I think that's probably where they're heading, and that's not going to be great. So
right.
I'm not sure. There's no real interesting, active young filmmakers or anything like that I think are especially primed for a property like Batman Year One necessarily. I think you know who would be cool if he was actually still making good movies, like his 1980s self, is Alex Cox, who did Repo Man and Sid and Nancy. Somebody like that would have been perfect for Batman Year One. Some like a youthful punk director who is used to dealing with urban landscapes in their films.
Right. What do you think? What do you think is going to be Todd Phillips' next step? Then now that he's an Oscar winner.
Um, well, he didn't win. He's an Oscar nominee, Best Director Oscar nominee.
What didn't he produce the thing?
It won. Joker won for Best Actor and Best Music, and it got
Ah,
nominated for Best Film, Best Director, maybe Best Adapted Screenplay. I don't know.
so what
He'll.
you're saying is you don't think he's going to do The Hangover 4 after this?
I. I.
That
I. I wouldn't put it past him. I don't. I don't. Look. I
the
don't.
hang the Hangover 4 coronavirus or post-pandemic hangover?
I don't think that he's. So if you take a look at Todd Phillips' peers, right? All the
Yeah.
other comedy directors from the aughts, like Adam McKay and Jay Roach, they all went in a direction where it's like, I'm 50 years old. I have to do things that matter now. I'm going to direct Bombshell, the Fox News movie. I'm going to direct hey, you know who I really hated and still hate? Dick Cheney. I'm going to do the Dick Cheney. I'm going to write the definitive story on Dick Cheney. Todd Phillips, he's going in a much more respectable direction, which is I'm going to copy Martin Scorsese. I'm just going to steal Martin Scorsese's style and change nothing and make that my style. And he does that with War Dogs, and it makes War Dogs a very fun movie to watch. And he did it with Joker, and it worked for Joker. So you know what? I'm fine with whatever he does next. If he wants to go, I hate the Hangover movies. If he wants to do Hangover 4, God bless him.
Just a greedy hangover because it's post-pandemic time. So now Zach Galifianakis is fatter because he's gained a lot of weight.
Yep.
And he's going to say something retarded. He's older, too. He's 60 now. You never see an old, retarded person.
Ed Helms needs to work. You were talking about his
Yeah.
show on Netflix, Coffee and Cream or whatever. Yeah, so he needs
it's a
it.
movie.
Right.
It's a movie.
Yeah,
How dare
sorry.
you?
I know. The hardest one to get would be Bradley Cooper, but he's friends with Todd, so I mean, he'd do it.
Is it because he's a director now after that movie? That Lady Gaga movie? Didn't he direct that?
Yeah, and it won some Oscars. It made an impact. So he's got clout.
Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk that all the white people in Hollywood would be into romantic musicals about a man just trying to make it, and a girl that's trying to make it a little bit harder than him?
Yeah.
I never saw. I don't even know if that's the story. I never saw that, but
It's close enough. It's close enough.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper, he produced Joker. How about that?
Ah, well.
There you go.
There you go.
The last movie that was in development for some time before they gave it over to Christopher Nolan was Batman vs. Superman. Batman vs. Superman was supposed to be directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who did The Perfect Storm and Das Boot. And it was going to star...
What the fuck?
Yeah. This one...
Two completely... All right.
This one was very close to happening. Back in 2003, I think it was greenlit. And I read the script to this, and it's kind of ridiculous and crazy, but it feels like a world's finest. So at this point in Batman's life, I think everybody's dead. Robin's dead. Alfred's dead. He's an older guy. He's getting married. And the Joker's still alive. Okay?
Just fucking retire. Just go buy an island and retire.
He's got a cave.
Millionaire. The saddest millionaire in the history of anything. It was just everyone around me dies because of who I am, so I'm just gonna keep doing it, being sad and rich. Just go to an island and just do an Epstein without the kiddie thing. On your own island and fucking be happy. God damn. Just like a therapy session every Batman movie. You're just trying to see how broken this man is because of the death of his parents that happened 50 years ago. You know?
Yes. So he's about to get married, and the Joker's alive in this one. And the Joker shows up to the wedding or whatever. Actually, I think this might even be canon with they were still trying to tie it back to the original 4. So I maybe I'm misremembering this. Maybe I'm thinking of Dark Knight Strikes Again, the Frank Miller sequel book to Dark Knight Returns. But I don't think this is the real Joker. I feel like this is a Joker clone. Like the Joker's got a number of clones, so he comes back from the dead and makes himself known at Bruce Wayne's funeral and kills his wife, and then like a bee kills. Maybe a bee kills his wife. I don't know. I feel like a bee kills somebody important. It's been so long since I read this script.
Bee comes out of his gun and kills her.
I think it might be that. I actually think it might be that. I think so. I really do think it might be that. And then Batman goes nuts or whatever, and he's going to try and kill the Joker, and then Superman and Lex Luthor step in.
Didn't do that on that Gotham TV show where it's like, this is the Joker. No, wait, this is Jerome. He's not the Joker. And then he's like, never mind. This is actually the Joker.
They were brothers. They were brothers or something.
You were a fan of that show.
I love Gotham. It was the best Batman ever. Somebody I had respect for, who I don't really interact with, said Gotham is the definitive Batman. And I said, what? And they said, yup. And that was the last time I ever spoke to that person. I eventually unfollowed them. So that's how that's where my opinion lies. So that was in development, and Colin Farrell was going to play Batman, and Jude Law was going to play Superman. And then that had the plug on it pulled for what was known as Batman: The Intimidation Game, which was just a code for Batman Begins. And it was called Batman Begins and not Dark Knight or anything like that because they thought, all right, well, if this doesn't work out, we can try and like repackage it as a prequel to that first Batman movie. And that's why it ended with the card flip. It's like, if this works, we go to phase 2 of this. If this doesn't work, then this is Jack Nicholson. So, right. And then the rest is history. Hollywood's changed, and we are put on track for the Disney corporatist future that we're in.
What's the next Batman thing that's going to come out besides Justice League? Has there anything been announced?
The Matt Reeves,
no Ben Affleck, though, right?
Rob Pattinson.
Oh, one. Right. Completely forgot about that. Not when you were talking about year one. That's where I went because of how they said at the beginning that there was going to be elements from Batman Year One in this one, and it's more, toned down, and he doesn't have as many gadgets or as much money, I guess, but. After seeing that trailer, it doesn't really. I don't know if they really went with that anymore.
No,
I mean, he has a simpler Batmobile, I guess, but I don't know
what I've heard for the Matt Reeves Batman movie is that they're going to do the Long Halloween, which is why all those villains are in there. And that's the Long Halloween is what was it? Tim Sales, Jeff Loeb, I think did that. That was essentially their own continuation of Batman Year One. You have a lot of the same characters from that, and they just remake The Godfather in that movie, but mixed with Silence of the Lambs. So we'll see where things go with that movie, or if it ever comes out. If it doesn't go direct to streaming, I've heard multiple ideas are being tossed around right now about what to do for Batman movies, but that's the only one that has something of it shot. I know that they're thinking about resurrecting the Ben Affleck Batman movie that was originally supposed to happen. Okay. With Joe Manganiello.
Manganiello, yes. What's his name? Deathstroke. Deathstroke, is it?
Yeah. So in that movie, Deathstroke would be doing the same thing I've talked about in the other Batman movies that never happened, killing a lot of Batman's friends and family. And I think they might be doing that as an HBO series now. We'll see. And then the other one is they're going to do a reboot of the DCEU with Michael Keaton as Batman and do a Batman Beyond film with him as old Bruce Wayne.
Right. I don't know if I'm interested in that. I wonder what his hairpiece is going to look like.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see Michael Keaton as Batman again for the Flash movie or whatever they wind up doing, but I don't know about that context.
No Tim Burton, though. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They might try to give him too much just because of who he is now.
Yeah.
As he's as soon as those words left my mouth, I was like, who is he now? What has he done recently after his revival? Really? After Spider-Man 2, what did he do?
Well, he did Birdman, he did Spotlight, right. He did The Founder. He's trying to get that Oscar. That's really what it is. He should have got the Oscar for Birdman. He's doing a lot of the Oscar bait, so he only comes up once a year to do a boring movie. And, I'll give him credit for being 2 Best Picture winners in a row, even though Spotlight is probably the worst Best Picture, even over Crash.
Oh, my God,
Crash
dude.
is comically bad of a winner. Spotlight is egregiously boring. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Completely forgot that.
I'll also
forgot that Spotlight won something. That was such a piece of shit. Anyway, just Hollywood sucking its own dick once again.
I'll give Michael Keaton credit for dropping out of Kong Skull Island before that movie went into production. Him and J.K. Simmons were supposed to be, I think, the John Goodman and Samuel L. Jackson characters, and they dropped out probably when they read the script.
I thought you were gonna say the John C. Reilly character. That would have been.
That would have been very
Steve
rough.
Rule, but
Michael Keaton with his Beetlejuice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's put the kibosh on Batman and Robin. We'll get to the best films. that we've watched this year. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Movies. If you would like to get that next episode, and probably a lot of episodes by the point that this drops on iTunes and Spotify, patreon.com/LowRes, $5 and up level gets you the video. $1 and up. $1 gets you audio the day of the recording. How good is that? That's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal. Had a lot of people go from $1 to $5 just because we started enforcing the video for that $5. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you pay $1? Pay $1, you get everything? You get free videos? I don't think so. That's not a good business model. No. So
nope, not at all.
Not
sounds like a lot of work for nothing. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And again, we gotta get Hans away from his job once and for all, so he can do this full time, so he can start our own gas digital network. Louis J. Gomez.
Yeah. That's right. Hans J. What's his Spanish last name? Why can't I think of it?
I don't know.
Okay, hold on. Something happened to me the other day that I wish my friend that I did this to watched this. He doesn't even speak English, so it never happened. But I was with my girlfriend at the supermarket, and I was very stoned. Like I was very, enjoying my Christmas. And she told me later that apparently there was a guy that kept trying to like get in between me or like get in front of me to say hello, I guess, but I was not in this world, so I was just walking around and ignoring this guy, right?
Yeah.
He caught my girlfriend was born in the States, so I talked to her in English, but I talked to everyone else here in Spanish. So to go from one language to the other, I have to do that switch in my mind, right? To change from Spanish to English. I can't do it that quickly because I don't really use it that much. And he shows up, and I'm going to introduce my friend that I've known for 5 years, maybe, to my girlfriend, and I say her name, and then I can't remember his.
Oh, no.
So I'm just standing there. And she's waiting, obviously, and I'm just like,
oh, that's terrible. That's
for much long. He should have helped me, to be honest. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of blame at him because he stood there for way too long without me.
How good of a friend is this? Is this somebody you know? I mean, 5 years is a long time.
Well, no, it's someone that moved into a neighborhood or someone that was younger. So I didn't know of his existence until like 5 years ago. So It's not someone I talk to every day, but it's someone that I've interacted.
Gotcha.
Way, more times than I should have to not remember his name.
Yeah.
And then, so I just stood there and I like grabbed him by the shoulder and I was like, and I just couldn't. And then he just said his name and like walked away, and I felt really shitty about this. I don't know why I brought that.
He probably thought, here's what he was probably thinking. You're trying to big shot him in front of your girl to impress her, to be the big man.
But and what was happening is just that I couldn't change the tape in my brain from English to Spanish quick enough so that I could say, this is my girlfriend in Spanish, and then think about his name in the state that I was. So it was just a very uncomfortable, almost minute and a half, where it was just me just trying really hard to remember, and just my friend very uncomfortable. Apparently he thinks I'm a huge asshole now.
Yeah.
Just like, well.
That's atrocious.
And with them all.
No, you can't. Apparently not. All right. Hansakin Dose on Instagram, right? And Hans Memorial on Twitter. I'm off Twitter for now because I'm more productive when I'm not off Twitter, but I reactivate my account once a day, every 30 days, to make sure it doesn't get deleted so I don't have to start all over again. And sometimes I'll stay on.
30 days? Yeah. That's me 30 days.
No. I brought it back. It's been 3 weeks, and I brought it back for 3 days intermittently, which I shouldn't have done, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to tweet nasty things to John Mulaney because of his relapse and his trip to rehab for coke. What a loser. Who goes to rehab for coke? What a bitch.
That's right. Doesn't know how to fucking party, beta piece of shit.
My God.
What a dig. What a piece of shit you are.
I am. I'm the piece of shit.
Find out about the news, and the first thing you think is like, you know what? I need to stay away from Twitter because it makes me very unproductive.
I was off Twitter for 8 days.
Remind this guy that he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. I was off Twitter for 8 days, and I saw that story. It compelled me. It compelled me to come back, and then I got some mean John Delaney people in my mentions saying,
Delayed.
"Who's it?"
Mulaney.
Mulaney. So,
Delaney.
I don't know.
That's why you're angry. That's someone's uncle. You were calling a loser for not being able to take his coke.
Oh, I was thinking Rob Delaney, and they're both boring Twitter comedians who got way too far because they cracked into the social media early and are not funny in real life. Actually, John Mulaney is a decent stand-up. He sucks anyway. Who cares? He's a loser. And you're a loser too if you like John Mulaney. How about that? If you're getting pissed off right now, I'm talking about John Mulaney. Fuck you.
That's right. Here's what I'm saying. Do some coke and then watch his comedy. And if you still like him, then fair enough.
I remember he was very funny back in like 2012.
Yeah.
You know, when he would come up on like what was pre-Spotify, Pandora. He'd come up on the stand-up comedy station for Pandora. You'd be in the car, and he would come up, and Hannibal Buress would come up. Two guys who have been irrelevant for 10 years. Yeah, I'm gonna care about that guy. I'm gonna care about his issues. Please.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he was a guest. He was a guest on the Pete Holmes show. How do you not remember that?
Yep. That's been movies for this week. Thank you for listening.